Alvin, thank you so much for, first of all, coming all the way from New York to Frankfurt, and then here, and then tomorrow going to Paris. So it is very difficult to catch Alvin. Please tell us a bit before we go into, how we started the partnership and everything. Can you just in a couple of words tell us what is your role in Genpact and what do you need to do as a everyday job?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here and see the fantastic innovation. I must say I'm really impressed with the avatar, optically, but also how it works. So super well done. Just a little bit about my role. Genpact, as you probably know, is a professional services company with more than 130,000 people across the globe. I'm leading the advisory business for financial services. And advisory has no starting point and certainly has no end point, which means where do we start with the advice, where do we end with the advice. But in the era we are, it's all about automation, it's all about AI, it's all about how can we drive customer experience. And yeah, that's pretty exciting that we met.
Yes, exactly. And I want to think about how we actually met, because it is very interesting. Genpact actually came to Druid as a lead on the website. So shout out for the marketing team for doing a very good job in in promoting us online. But I know, after we actually got the chance to meet, you are telling me that you did a lot of research, and then there were some reason why you chose us and not our competitors. So can you tell us a bit?
So first of all, when I say I did a lot of research,
yes, I know.
mean my team did a lot of research, and parts of the team, Laura, for example, they're all here today, and big thank you to them because they did the heavy lifting. And people who know me, they know that I'm very impatient with everything, So when I want to solve something, I don't want to be part of the solution. I just want to drop my requirement and it gets solved in the background and somebody just sends me a message, it's solved. Perfect. So that's why I loved actually the avatar where the resolution is.
Yeah, you need a Jenny in your life.
Exactly, I need a Jenny in my life. Don't tell my wife. My wife, Catherine, might have a problem with that. But, I went back to the team and said, my requirement is I need a more intelligent chatbot. That was my requirement because it was beyond imagination what exists, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got client requirements, very old-fashioned, people are calling in, moving papers from left to right.
And especially in the banking and the financial, it's like, this is the everyday story.
But you're right, especially in the banking area. And then the second part is also, thousands of emails, for this particular client where we actually were trying to solve something, they received 10,000 emails per day across the globe, right? Yeah. 10,000 emails. So my requirement was, hey, find me something which is a bit more sophisticated than handling emails and phone calls. So they did a research and did a lot of comparison, and especially in the German market, security, regulation, etc., played a big role. Ultimately, Druid made it to the shortlist, right? Yeah. And from the shortlist, we went through demos and so on. And I must say, I remember the day very well where I saw the first demo and I was deeply impressed. And I would just describe it actually in 2 words. It's beyond imagination. Okay. Yeah? So I was thinking I can put in a request and it's sexy in the front. Yeah? And in the back end, there will be people solving certain tasks in the traditional way. Yeah. But when I saw that Druid is actually not only focusing on the human element in a conversation, which was great, green tick, but also on the resolution and the automation part of it, it was actually the perfect combination.
Because I think this is usually, because we sometimes tend to focus a bit on how the customer feels, but we forget that we also need reports, because unfortunately all of us have bosses that at the end of the day, they require a presentation or a report. So I think the fact that you can actually do both, it is all-in-all package.
Yeah, and really important, even this morning, I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but it was all about resolution. You're almost not mentioning anymore how human the interaction is, because that's a kind of given for you. Yeah. It's all about automation at the back end. And this is something what I really found impressive, because with all the other solutions I saw, it was very much, okay, we can have an even better conversation. It feels almost like human, but the back end was still not solved.
Yeah, I think our main, let's say, concern all the time, and I think this comes from like Liviu towards everything that we do, is the fact that we feel that the data is actually the knowledge. So if you don't have the access to the data, and if you cannot do like a really deep dive into the insights of what the process is looking like, then how do you actually take business decisions and strategic? Because from in your position, you need to take strategic decisions, not be in operational tasks. I want now, because it is now, like you were saying, we're currently working for a customer, we're building a solution, and we're very, very excited about that. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think this is what we know, and from the first moment when we actually met, both of us talked about the strategic partnership. So it was not just a one-hit wonder like all the bands in the 90s, but actually wanted to have it like on a long-term partnership. So tell me a bit, how do you envision this partnership? Because it's not just from today, it's like how it is going forward.
Yeah. So I think one thing AI cannot replace is probably partnerships and the human relationship, right? So far, I mean, we're giving it personification, we're calling it Jenny, we're calling it whatever, but I think the relationship element and the trust element is something, and this is, I think, where, again, I was really impressed, how you are dealing with these relationships. I don't know if you have counted, but I joined 10 a.m. this morning, and I was a bit late for that, right? And until now, in the last 3 hours, you have mentioned 14 times business value across all the speakers, right? Yes. This actually shows that you are not thinking in products, you're not thinking in selling a product, you're actually, providing a solution which is more end-to-end, and obviously the support network you have built with all your speakers and your Druid teams is very much the partnership, right?
Yes.
So for us as Genpact, I can overemphasize this point that it's a partnership where we actually want to solve business challenges for our clients together with you, having a seat at the table for, from both parties. And the reason why we have selected you as the partner is because you are not only providing the product, you are helping us to think A to Z. And that's what we need in those client conversations. We cannot go in and say, here is a product without any context. We need someone who comes across credible enough to say, we understood the business challenge and we are here together to solve it A to Z. And that's what I found in you.
And I think it was really interesting that, the relationship between the two companies is quite new, because we just like recently met, and I feel that we have done so much progress in so many directions, and with all kinds of leaders from different line of businesses within Genpact that were coming and say, okay, I have this customer, I want to showcase this. So I think this is something that really talks about how a partnership should actually look like. So I just want to wrap this session up by looking a bit into the future and say, okay, how do you see the partnership going forward from this moment on?
Yeah. So basically, we want to boost your innovation. That's what we want to do, right? So we want to have you side by side, hand in hand. We want to go to our clients, look at the business challenges they have, see how the solution fits into it, solve it A to Z, and maybe add also some traditional methodologies. Sometimes in the era of AI, we forget that, hey, we have still RPA, we still have the simple process automation. So the answer is not always AI, but basically solve the A to Z. Maybe it's a combination of some traditional technologies plus AI. But at the end, I think it's really the A to Z which we have to solve. And then I think this is something what we want to do with Druid, and we have already started with some of your account managers already to go account by account, client by client, and decide which business problem, underlying problem can we solve together, and let's go there. And we had already great conversations, and we'll continue to do so.
And I think it's really interesting because usually you're working with such big customers. It is not a local project. It's always spread across the world, 10 different languages, a lot of translation that we need to do in order for us to deliver the project. So I would really like, because we have just 4 more minutes, I would really like if there are questions from the audience that you have for Alvin, because I feel that their way of doing things was totally different from what we've seen with the rest of our partners. And if you have some questions on maybe you're still not very sure if you want to become a partner or a customer, because Alvin is usually discussing with the customers, and maybe you have questions related to where to start, how do you start, how usually the customers are starting into their automation processes. So if there are questions.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so what is the time to market? So from when you start the project, yeah, so what's the time to market, starting the project and putting it live?
Yeah. So what we experience with this is actually faster than expected. And the reason for this is in our Druid relationship, we were always very pragmatic and practical. So yes, obviously there has to be a contractual framework, so this obviously you have to get out of the way, there is no question about it. But when it comes to solutions, very quickly when we see an opportunity, we just sit together and discuss the solution, right? So there is no formality, there is no, oh, you know, send me this, send me that, work on a presentation, I will work on a presentation, in 3 months' time we get together and see how it is. So we see an opportunity, we get together, we discuss the business problem, we bring the solution together, and once we have the straw man, we go to the client and actually test it with the client, right, and build it from there. So I think from the moment you understood the business problem until the delivery, we are actually talking about weeks, subject to. And this is now where, obviously, the clients sometimes have their own information security processes. Yeah, they call it process, I call it disaster. But sometimes, you know, this takes a couple of weeks. But I think from the moment the business challenge and then you have a solution, it's super quick. Yeah.
Any other question? If not, Alvin is still staying with us for lunch.
Yeah,
maybe. Perfect. Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to have you on stage with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you.